Hello and welcome to the Embodied Woman, a home for the authentic creative podcast. I am so honored that I get to do this. And I'm so honored that I get to do it with my friend Amber.
Thank you.
It's a really big deal that we have the freedom to say what we want to say, to create what we want to create, and to create ripple effects through speaking our truth. Whether it's just us that hears it, whether it's thousands or 100, it's like just the fact that these conversations, like Robin Cohen said, I'll never be the same.
Mm.
And that's how I feel after every episode that we do, after every conversation that we have, whether it's just you and me, whether it's you, me, and these incredible guests. And today, I am feeling really proud that we're continuing this conversation with Makenzie. I met Makenzie because of you, and I was introduced to her cacao drinking chocolate because of Amber. And I've got, oh, there she
What a gorgeous picture
is.
that is. She's such a goddess.
I've got my cacao here.
Oh my God, she's so gorgeous.
So, Makenzie, thank you for being
Hello.
here.
I'm trying to turn my camera on. There it is.
Yay, beautiful.
Yay!
Aloha.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm on Maui
Mm.
now, so that feels really good and very grateful
Oh
to
my
be
God. That's my favorite place in the whole world.
Hawaii or Maui.
Maui.
Beautiful.
Hmm.
I want to be you when I grow up. I want to travel the world.
Oh my gosh, right back at you. For real. For real. You're so sweet.
Oh,
How are you
yeah.
doing? Like, what's going on? No,
That's
just
what I was gonna ask you. Well, I'll let Amber. I've started talking already, but Amber, how are you doing?
Well, I'm good. Siri and I were talking about, obviously, we had a first conversation with you that was absolutely magical and amazing. And Siri was just saying that, I introduced her to my most favorite morning sacred ritual of drinking the
Yes.
cacao.
Mm,
And we talked a lot about your story and how you have arrived at where you're at. And then
mhm.
when we finished the conversation, we were like, wait a minute, we didn't talk about like sacred sexuality, and we didn't talk about your book and your leadership role in ushering in this new paradigm shift of how
Mhm.
businesses are operated from a space of heart rather than you know
I
a
love
more patriarchal, masculine,
totally.
linear type of practice. So I actually I wanted to read a description of your book, How to Lead a Badass Business from the Heart, because this is really a conversation that we've been having, that I've been having, uh, that's really resonant. And so I feel like it's just perfect divine timing for you to come back and talk about this.
Yay.
Um, so if does that sound okay to you?
Beautiful. Of
Okay, cool.
course. Of course.
So, How to Lead a Badass Business from the Heart is a blueprint for conscious entrepreneurs to bring their business to life in a way that is entirely rooted in the heart. While the old paradigm of business, rooted in fear and greed, has left most of the spiritual community terrified of capitalism, money, and success, this book grants full permission back to the visionaries and lightworkers that are here to restore the heart on our planet through their creations. In this
Hmm.
book, you will learn through the author's unconventional stories and insights how you can be an instrumental part in paving the new paradigm of business. I mean, oh, it's like music to my soul because I am a visionary light worker in the spiritual community, wanting to succeed in business and make a lot of money and make huge impact, and have been challenged with the old paradigm of
Hmm.
hustle and force and fear and scarcity and competition, like all of us. And
Yes.
so I would love to hear from you how that came to you, and how you practice it in your own life and how you help other conscious entrepreneurs bring it into their businesses.
Oh, this is a big one. It's a big one. Well, when I first drank ayahuasca, that's where I have to start. Because
I was gonna say, bring it all. We got sacred sexuality, plant medicine, money. Let's do it all.
Yeah,
Go.
I gotta start there, because when I left that very first ceremony, I was very connected to my true purpose, which I heard the message, and I forget if I shared this on the last one, but the message was, your purpose is to spread your glitter in the world.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter, what tasks you're up to. It's about how you do it. It's about your being. And that took a lot of pressure off, because I had always come from the place, having grown up in a household that focuses on traditional success and education and making money and whatnot. This really gave me a lot of relief. Oh, wow. In just being me and bringing my light to every room, into every interaction, that will fulfill my purpose. And so I had the opportunity to just stop focusing on, like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? From this place of like headiness. And in this open-hearted space, I remember leaving the ceremony, I messaged my Aunt Amy and I said, I'm never writing another business plan again. I recognized how me writing out these business plans were so heady, and I had been limiting myself in terms of how much I could actually achieve and actually reach and actually expand into, by trying to define it. And here's my plan. Here's what we're going to do. And I just said, I'm going to never do that again. And then within the next 24 hours, a business idea came through. And you can read the book if you want to learn more about that story. But the idea, basically the message was, this is one way you will spread your glitter in the world. So I took that message to heart, knowing that, okay, I can bring this product to the market and to others, and this will be one way I share my light. This is just a vehicle. So rather than focusing on the numbers and how much money we're going to make and how many stores we're going to get into and all of that, I got to focus on just bringing my light to others through the vehicle of this product. So I would go to the farmers markets and I would go to the trade shows and I would pray. I would ask to just get out of the way and allow my light to come through. Now, I truly believe that when we step into a space like that, we have no choice but to attract prosperity. Because if you were born with a dream and you were born with a vision and you were born with these gifts that were meant to come through, why would the universe, creator, God, source, whoever you believe gifted you these gifts and these ideas and these visions, why would you not be supported in bringing those through? I believe that it's when we get distracted from our dharmic path that we start struggling when it comes to money and when it comes to being supported. I believe we need to get on the path of our truth. What are we here to share? And then we get to allow the support to show up in our lives. So this, in one ceremony, I had the energy of my business, of that business at the time, present itself. And I could sense that she was a feminine energy, and she had a voice. She had her own personality. And in the book, I talk a lot about that. I talk about how I started forming a relationship with the signature of my business, the soul of my business, the essence of my business. And I started writing to her, writing letters and getting these intuitive nudges and this guidance, the support from the invisible realm. And it doesn't mean I didn't make mistakes. It doesn't mean it all went peachy clean. In fact, that business is not even here anymore. However, it went exactly as it was meant to go, for me to gather the experiences and lessons I needed to have on a soul level. So this is how I see business. I see business just like I do sacred union. It is a foundation of personal and professional and spiritual development. Your business is a mirror. It's always mirroring to you energetically where you're at. And that's humbling for me to say, because I have stuff go weird in my business all the time. Now, in the business that I'm in right now, I don't call it a business. I call this my dharma. I call this my mission. I share these plants with the world through the vehicle of cacao, K-A-K-A-O, and then soon Ava, this ceremonial kava from the Hawaiian Islands coming through. So with that said, I wholeheartedly believe that we can't think our way into our purpose. We can't think our way into being an entrepreneur. It honestly happens, and we need to be in a space to allow it to happen. And it's like when I had some ceremonies where I just was seeing chocolate waterfalls. I didn't know anything about cacao. I just saw chocolate waterfalls for so many ceremonies. And I was like, what is happening? Why am I in a Willy Wonka factory in my ayahuasca ceremonies? Can someone please make this stop? And it wasn't until years later, I had my head in a stone grinder and I just see the chocolate spinning around the stones. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this was in my ceremony.
There it is.
This was in my soul. This is in the contract that I came to this planet with. And it just happened. It doesn't mean it doesn't have my full engagement, my full participation on a daily basis, but it's just happening. I'm not creating it from my mind. I'm not trying to manifest anything. I'm not focusing on what the goal is and just sitting there and trying to use the law of attraction to get to it. To be completely honest, the most successful things that I experience in my life now, it's because I prayed first and I listened, and then I answered. I said yes to doing what that answer was. You know, I said yes to going to the farm because I heard that's the next right step, even though I had no idea what I was doing and didn't speak Spanish. And going to Guatemala alone as a young blonde girl is very dangerous. So, but I heard to go. And I didn't know why. This wasn't coming through my mind. This was coming through my prayer. And so I believe that it's a spiritual connection that will allow us to actually step into true prosperity when it comes to being compensated for our gifts and for our dharma and for our service in the world. And there's so much more I can share about money, but I'm going to pause and see where you want to go with this.
I'm excited to hear more about money. And then let's make sure we have time for sex.
Always. Always. I love that. You want me to keep going about money?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in tears just because, Makenzie, and you do these ceremonies once a month online, and I've been to one, the cacao ceremony, and I just have to share, like, you're so magical. And, you know, Amber, this magical being, brought me to you, this magical being. And when you speak, you're channeling. You know, I can feel the channeling, and it just brings me to tears because you're so pure. And I love the work that you're doing. And it's so important, the work that you're doing as an entrepreneur, as a spiritual person, as a woman, that, you know, what Amber was talking about, that we're shifting this paradigm, that you're the voice of this. And we're like, yes, please tell us more.
You love it. Thank you. Thank you for giving us all this platform to open ourselves up to truth, you know, because as I share, as I listen to these words coming through, I'm remembering, and I'm getting that deep reminder. So it's an honor. When it comes to money, it's very important that we don't limit ourselves the way that the patriarchal society would have us do. So for starters, when it comes to spreadsheets and finances and budgets, all of that just has infinity signs in it for me. infinity in, infinity out. I don't bring my mind in when it comes to finances unless I have to calculate a margin or something just to be triple sure. This is about restoring the feminine on our planet within the ways we operate. And so that's going to require when it comes to money is us coming so deeply into our intuition. Where am I being asked to invest resources? Where am I being asked to take a risk, quote unquote? Where am I being asked to pause? Where am I being asked to act? And really getting, and it doesn't mean you'll be perfect right away. Again, we make mistakes, but thankfully, the Divine Mother allows us space and grace to make mistakes. And we must practice this intuitive way of operating in order for our nervous systems to trust that. A lot of people say, well, how do you trust making these big, like taking these risks, taking these leaps of faith? It's well, I did it enough and realized I was always safe. I always landed on the other side. And now my body recognizes that, but I had to prove it to myself. And at first it feels a little wobbly. And again, that's where prayer comes in. That's where the allies of the plants come in. That's where nature comes in. Support the nervous system as you're making a transition from the old paradigm to the new paradigm of quote unquote business. If your dharma is, let's say, quote unquote, trading time for money, and you think, oh, well, I need to then have X amount of clients to make X amount of money, you're limiting yourself completely. Completely limiting yourself because you're under the impression that the angels can't change the numbers in your bank account. And I'll tell you that they do.
Tell us.
They're just numbers on a screen. Literally, it's just numbers on a screen. So I don't go into my bank accounts and try to figure everything out because they're just numbers on a screen. I pray, ask for the guidance, I act, and I call on my seraphim, I call on my angels, my spirit squad, and my team to support that. And I don't really look at the bank accounts because I just trust that it's taken care of. I know that that probably sounds super privileged. However, I did that when I had negative $15 in my bank account. And to this day, I push my edges because this medicine is asking me to grow and make larger and larger purchases of this medicine. And so at one time, and it's requiring more cash flow than ever. And it pushes me at an edge.
Yeah, I want to hear about this up leveling.
Well, ask it in another way. What do you mean?
So you're growing, you're up leveling as a person, so and therefore as well simultaneously your business is up leveling, and so it requires these kind of cycles of regrowth and like rechurning and like opening and then feeling scared and then like opening again and like, am I ready for this? And this is what I'm being called to, so I'm gonna trust, like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and nature is the best analogy, if not the only analogy we should use when it comes to money and resources and being supported. Because let's say a waterfall. If we want the water to flow, are our pipes clear? So that's the first step I'm realizing in any type of up leveling is, like, for instance, I went through a divorce last year. Hard shit, really hard shit. However, ever since that divorce, I've had more doors open, more opportunities arise, more alliances form, more prosperity come through. It's like, oh, I didn't realize there was a kink in the hose on multiple levels. I'm not talking about a person that was
Yep.
I'm talking about within myself. Within myself, there was something that was incongruent with my soul and incongruent with my true authenticity. And therefore, I played small. I wasn't using my voice. I was outsourcing my masculine energy. I was outsourcing safety and security. I was shrinking in order to make someone else feel comfortable. And I was taking my wings and curling them back.
Yeah.
That's on me. So as soon as I removed that, and that took work and a lot of ceremony and alchemization, but as soon as the more that I shine and share and open my wings, now I'm an actual pillar for service and for receiving support from my service. My light is actually unobstructed. I'm an actual lighthouse, and I can allow that abundance to flow. And now this is going to happen again, right? Because I'm going to continue to evolve and continue to grow. This isn't about a destination. This is about, we came to this planet to expand our consciousness. We came to this planet to evolve our souls. So it's not about how much money we make. It's about what we need to learn, what karma we need to clear, what lessons we must embrace in order for us to go to this next realm, hopefully.
Preach, preach.
Hopefully. So with that said, so yes, I'm so, now I'm in this space of these opportunities, these doors opening, these alliances forming, these products coming to life. And my number one Kuliana responsibility with that is to be grateful. Is to open my arms wide and let it all in and just be like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Step two, if I start noticing any sort of contraction, nervous system dysregulation, fear, I recognize that that's an upper limit. That's an upper limit to me receiving this next stage of my growth and the next, level of beauty, prosperity, connection, and love. So sometimes the waterfall will like dry up a little bit because there's another kink in the hose or there's some stagnancy in the pipes. And that's all divine because it gets our attention.
Mm-hmm.
When resources aren't flowing, it gets our attention on a soul level. And I would refer to it as Gaia is getting my attention to say, okay, pause, let's turn back, let's look at the pipes and let's excavate this. Like, what's going on? What's happening within me that's incongruent to this flow? Am I not speaking my full truth? Am I acting from a place of wanting to prove myself? Yeah. Do I have shame that I'm not addressing? Right. Am I scared of what people would think? Am I scared of receiving more because I'm scared of losing it all again? And these are some questions that I might ask myself. Yeah. So I believe that just like nature, Gaia uses resources very, very wisely. And it's like a teacher. We can't expect it to be raining all the time. We can't expect it to be sunny all the time. We can't expect it to be one way. We have to allow nature to do its thing. And I'll pause there. See what questions you have.
I'm truly enjoying being a receiver and listening and really just taking it all in. It's all very deeply resonant. It makes absolute sense to me. Very specifically in areas of my life, I'm noticing kinks in the hose. I'm noticing where opportunities to clear out. I'm noticing, Gaia or God or source or Mother Earth or Mother Money or whatever. Right? All of it. Yeah, it's fascinating. Also, when you said, I had this like little, when you said a fear of receiving more because you might lose it again, I had a like, in my body about money, but more about relationships and love, because I have been divorced for 4 years and I say I want love more than anything. I deeply want it. And there's a little part of me that's like, what if I get it and then it goes away again, right? It's like, it makes me want to cry. So it's just interesting to notice that, you know, really, and just, I don't have to really do anything about it. It's like, oh, isn't that interesting? That's present. That fear is present. And I can have compassion for that. And that, of course, I would have that experience. I'm a human, and I've had human experiences where I have had loss, and I have had pain, so that's going to come up. So my human self gets to say, oh, and then my soul gets to say, yes, sweetheart, but here's the deal. You are spiraling up. So yes, you might experience loss again. You might experience pain again. Probably, you're human. And you will be at another level where you will be able to see through a different lens. And so to go back to what you said, if we truly are here, and I do believe this, if we truly are here for the expansion, right? The soul's greatest expansion and consciousness, then every experience we have contributes to that. Oh, unmute. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. I just so resonate, obviously, with your share. And it's so real for me in my body too. And still, you know, I'm so curious. So curious how that's going to show up in future partnership, or, you know, what for both of us. And right now it's just this, what I'm hearing is to just keep, when we're scared of something, go into the fear. Like you said, like, what's the worst that could happen is, well, we do lose again. And I did that with my company when COVID hit, or whatever you want to call it. It's when 2020 hit. I I was really scared of my business crashing and burning. And as I was taking a walk, I just said, well, what's the worst that could happen is I lose my company. And I just was like, well, I'll just build it up again.
Yeah.
I finally, but I had to face the fear, I had to feel the feelings. And then I ended up recognizing how much that fear was operating me.
Right.
And so now I try to name it faster in any area of life. But yeah, it's like fear is a guidepost in many ways.
I had this.
Oh,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was just going to share a little brief story. Yesterday, I had this experience, and I was laying on my couch, and I was in a lot of feelings. I was experiencing intense feelings. And at one point, I felt almost this panic in my body, like I wanted it to go away. Right. And then all of a sudden I went, Amber, you've experienced, like, I mean, some pretty shitty stuff in your life. Like, you've had you've experienced like the deepest loneliness. You've experienced the greatest darkness. You've had the most intense rage and anger. The sadness that you have felt has felt at times like it was endless. And you've survived. So there's nothing that's going to happen right now on this couch. There are no feelings that are going to present themselves that you haven't been there before and worked through it and moved through it. It's not going to kill you. So your job right now is to surrender, let it just roll in. Okay, what are you here to teach me? Okay, let me feel you. Yep. And we'll just keep feeling them until we don't need to feel them anymore. So it just reminded me when you were saying that,
Can relate on every level. Like
Same.
The eclipse the other night, or whenever that was, a week and a half ago, I was shook by how much emotion was coming through. And yet I just had to let it flow. And that's what I love about the Gene Keys. He talks about let it crash into you. Let the wave just roll over. And then we get to turn our suffering into art. If the deepest yearnings of our hearts, the deepest pain, the deepest abundance, like all the things that we can feel in our hearts Can we bring that into art? Can we bring that into form? Can we bring that into service in a beautiful way? And that's
Yes.
true alchemization, and which is what we're all doing right here. You know, we're
Yes.
really turning our life experiences into service because we've been through so much, and so now we want to help. That's beautiful.
So, so good. I saw on Instagram a story where you had your bike, and I so relate. Okay, because I don't like riding a bike, just like you. I fell over when I was younger. I don't trust it. I don't like it. I can do it. I don't like it. And you talked about the exhaustion and traveling and like just, I know you give your whole life to your mission. And I feel that way. Like I several nights haven't been able to sleep. I'm up, I'm like chanting, I'm meditating, I'm praying, I'm journaling, I'm breathing, I'm like affirmations, like, and I'm exhausted because I have this manifesting generator energy where I'm just like my mission, like something is like making me like I just have to create. I have to create. I have to create. I have to be doing. I want to make shit, right? So I was relating to your bike post of like you're like I'm here. I'm exhausted. I got a ping that I need to ride this bike up this hill, was it? A mountain? I'm like, shit. And today I did the same thing, not with a bike, but I went down to the dock of the bay and I just was like, I need to be in nature before I talk to you. So I'd love to hear about the bike, the rest of the bike story, and just the exhaustion and as entrepreneurs and all that.
Yeah, I really hadn't experienced this level of burnout before, to the point where I could barely walk and like go on a walk, and that was confronting for me. And it was because not only all the travel, different time zones, 4 months of living out of a suitcase while managing a company, but there were places where I was giving my energy away. And I believe that my soul was trying to get my attention and say, these places, while they are on your heart and while you do genuinely care, you're not going to be able, that's not what I have in store for you. That's not how you're going to make a difference in Lahaina and on Maui, and that was so hard to hear. Because with Lahaina, it was, so basically last year I went through a divorce, relocated back to Maui because I'd only ever left because my ex didn't want to be here. So I relocated back on the day of the fires. So I have the trauma of the divorce that I'm still working through, obviously, merged with the trauma of the fires that this whole island has gone through. Some more than some more than others, different varying degrees, of course. But regardless, I went into this hyper vigilant fight or flight mode, and I think that from both experiences, since they were both so shocking, they took me off guard. I wasn't expecting them. I think my cortisol just shot through the roof. I think my adrenals got shot. And I think that my body was trying to get my attention in this last month to say, okay, you've done so much work emotionally, so much work on the shadow side, so much work mentally and spiritually, but the physical body has taken a hit from these experiences. And the more that you keep doing this and overgiving, overdriving, neglecting these different parts of yourself and of your business, you're just going to keep burning out. And it just, so that was kind of getting my attention, and also seeing where I was giving in Lahaina from a place of, and I think a lot of people could relate to this in general. I was giving from a place of shame. Shame for having a house, shame for living here and having survived, shame for having a beautiful sanctuary that I get to live on, while meanwhile all these people are suffering. And also just shame for being white while living on native land that's unlawfully occupied. And it's just, was a lot. So I had to get so honest with myself. Where am I acting and giving from a place of shame and feeling like I'm not worthy of this beautiful, abundant life? Yeah. So that was big. And the burnout forced me to get honest about that. So I've made some changes and I've made some shifts about where can I give. And what's been really interesting is that my soul has redirected me to a lot of inward work is how I can actually make a difference right now. Mm-hmm. Because the micro is the macro. And I know it requires both, but I'm finding a balance for myself. With that said, the bike is tender because I was on a road trip with the bikes on the back of the van when my husband revealed what he revealed. And so my inner child who loves her bike, but it's always been a tender thing because didn't grow up with a dad around, didn't have a dad teach me to ride my bike, had my friends dad eventually teach me, but I didn't learn how to ride till I was 7. It was always tender. Thought I had reprogrammed that inside of my life experience and marriage. And boom, it's all here again. So I just heard my intuition, like, get on your bike today. And I'm like, no. But I did. And it was exhilarating. It was exactly what I needed because it was me tending to my own inner child versus outsourcing that, looking for validation, a man's presence, anyone's approval. I just got to, maybe my burnout was my inner child trying to get my attention all along. And she said, hey, I'm still here. This is still a part of you, and so now it's like remembering that to tend to her. And it's not easy to, because we have to be adults and live out all these responsibilities. But they do have, our innocence has a beautiful way of getting our attention. When we're feeling extra vulnerable, it's probably our inner child. When we're feeling scared, it's probably our inner child. So it's like, how can we tend to those parts of ourselves? And for me, getting back on the bike was how I said to her, you know what? Who cares about all the people that said they don't want to be here, whether it was your dad or your husband? I got you. And you're on Maui. You're in paradise. Look at how supported we are. Look at how abundant life is. You're doing, like, let's play. Let's just play together. And yeah, it was a healing day and it was a turning point for me.
I love that story. And this is another conversation that I've been having a lot lately, is this concept of sourcing from within, sourcing safety, sourcing security, sourcing pleasure, sourcing, I mean, at the end of the day, right? And yesterday, my intuition said, hug yourself. Because oftentimes when that little girl in me is just feeling all the feelings, I want to be held. And the only people in my life right now consistently that are holding me are my children, and I'm mostly holding them. And so I said, you know what? In this moment, I get to give that to myself. And I hugged myself and I wept. And I said, see, like, I get to give that to myself right now. And no matter how many people are in my life, or no matter how much abundance or anything that's happening externally, at the end of the day, I must source from within, all of it, all of it. That brings me to my next question, because we have to make sure that we talk about sex and pleasure and all that stuff, because this is another conversation that I've been having a lot, is how the practice of pleasure and sacred sexuality is allowing us to tune into our feminine principles, right? To usher in the new paradigm. So that's one way for me that I have been, I'm using the practice, the self-pleasure practice, and other practices that bring in pleasure, is to help me move into that feminine principle of receptivity and softening and allowing and flow. And so I'd love to hear from you how that was brought into your life and how you use that as a practice for yourself, and how you teach it to others.
Yes, absolutely. And I do just want to reflect like the tenderness of these times. And when you mentioned, the emotion that's been flowing, I think that there's a core wound within humanity, but especially with the feminine, of worthiness.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm certainly navigating deep layers of loneliness, and it's not comfortable. It
Mm-hmm.
is not comfortable at all, especially when we give so much and we just want to be held at the end of the day. In
Yeah.
somatic, physical touch is a primal need, right?
Yeah.
So just offering my compassion and letting you know, like, I'm very much going through the same thing. And so many people, especially women, are.
Mm-hmm.
And with that said, my journey with sacred sexuality and my sexuality and sex energy in general, which is really just creative life force energy,
Mm-hmm.
has been a big journey for me. It started with someone introducing the fact that sex is not something that's meant to be goal oriented.
Mm.
It's meant to be a practice of breath and connection to the divine. And I was just like, what do you even mean? And up until that point, I had only seen sex as something as I should do for the man. It's a chore. And I
Mm-hmm.
never like had an issue with it. I didn't have any trauma. I just had a lot of religious programming and repression. So everyone has a different journey, right? Everyone has a different story. And when I had a healing session with a tantric healer. And what he did was he activated my Kundalini by tapping on the base of my spine. It was a non-sexual experience. He activated the Kundalini energy and then he moved it throughout my entire body. And because he was a Reiki practitioner, was able to do that. And while he did that, when he got to my head, I just had so much emotion, like, and this is probably, I don't know, 9 years ago. I had so much emotion. I felt like for the first time ever, my inner child was letting herself receive love from a physical touch space. And up until then, I'd been very reserved. Even my Aunt Amy, she would say, like, that my body was resistant to touch and affection because it just hadn't ever received that. So I had these walls and these barriers. So this guy, this healer, really opened up a lot for me. And we had some time together where we got to just breathe in to like moving the quote unquote sex energy through the spine and up the spine and around the body. And in that, my chakras started opening and realigning.
Mm.
Because I think up until then, especially through the use of, let's say, like a vibrator or porn, my sex energy was very restricted to my sacral chakra experience, quick releases,
Mm-hmm.
done, right? Which a lot of men can relate to that. And now I was learning that number one, this is sacred.
Mm-hmm.
This energy is sacred. This is the energy that creates worlds. This is the most sacred energy on our planet, the most powerful energy on our planet. It creates children, offspring. And I learned through different texts that you're creating mental and spiritual and emotional offspring anytime you activate that energy, anytime you have an orgasm. Even if you're not creating physical offspring, you're creating other offspring and you're putting that
Mm.
out into the planet and into the universe, into the consciousness of humanity. So I started looking at, well, what consciousness do I want to be? Where do I want to be creating from? Yeah. And so I had to let go of these lower parts of, engaging with porn or utilizing sex for validation or to just please my partner. I had to start like asking myself, what's my reason for this? What's my
Mm-hmm.
why? So then, so it was like kind of like step one. I understood that sex is sacred and that it's not about the end goal, it's about presence, breath, intimacy, eye gazing if you're with a partner. And then later on in my journey, I guess you were talking about pleasure. I just began participating in various retreats, women's empowerment retreats, sacred sexuality retreats, things where we could explore in a safe space different sensations.
Mhm.
because as a woman that is in, very much had been performance driven on the computer, going to meetings, that's not a very like sensual experience. Yeah. So
Mm.
I needed spaces and mentors to and books um and experiences to call me forward in relaxing into my feminine, into activating my senses again. Because we shut these parts of ourselves down. We numb these parts of us out, especially if we've had trauma. And
Mhm.
even if we've just had one experience in a sexual setting that didn't feel empowering,
Mhm.
your fascia inside of your yoni could then, okay, numb. So I love Kim Anami's Jade Egg.
Mhm.
She teaches women how to use it, and not only how to strengthen the muscles of the yoni, but it helps reawaken the sensations. I started incorporating more feminine things in my life: flowers, dancing, singing, breathing, slowing down. I started appreciating doing the dishes, appreciating doing the housework and folding the laundry, because I realized that when I use my hands, that progesterone gets activated. So this has been a long journey for me. And now where I'm at, I'll share vulnerably, is discernment around who I let into my field.
Yeah.
And that's not easy when it kind of sometimes feels like it's slim pickings. No offense to anything. It's just, you know, to find,
Well, you're discerning,
yeah,
so that makes sense.
exactly. But I've made some mistakes, but and I see them as beautiful experiences to mirror what they needed to mirror to me, to
Hmm.
reorient me and help me become even clearer around what it is right for me to let into my womb and into my vessel.
Mhm.
But because we humans, and I'll speak for myself, I crave touch, I crave intimacy, I crave surrender, I crave submission. I crave being able to like drop in that space in a way that really only, in my experience, opening up the womb and cervical penetration can get you to. But it's like that is nothing if it's not merged with the emotional, spiritual, and beyond intimacy to be met at every single chakra. So, so I have so many friends that are in the female empowerment space, pleasure practices. That's not my work, but I deeply respect it because it helps us women remember sex isn't just for the man. Oh, and now I need to know, what do I like? What do I
Mhm.
like? And now the test, this is my test, is can I speak what I like? Can I speak what my boundaries are? Can I speak what I prefer? Can I speak what really opens me? And I'm learning about myself. It's never about a technique. It's never about the physical. It's about intuitively my womb knows if I am fully safe to completely open. And the deepest pleasure that I could ever experience is, I imagine, because I actually haven't experienced it yet, I sense that the deepest pleasure will be experienced when I'm met on every level intimately, every single chakra aligning and merging. And so that's going to take time and patience and discernment. And right now, for me, it's about just the beloved within, And for me, while I totally support pleasure practices and not making it just about the clitoris and like touching your whole body, like activating everything,
Mhm.
fully being in your breath, having a ceremony, setting an hour aside for yourself. Get rose. I buy flowers for myself regularly. Buy yourself roses. Take a rose petal and put it all over your body and even alongside your yoni. Like bring in the sense, bring in these goddess codes, and
Mhm.
and give yourself that space. And that's going to allow you to come into just the worthiness,
Hmm.
the true receptivity. And then once you do that, I mean, you have to be discerning about who you let into your field from there, because you've set a standard for yourself, right? So for me, I really like value those practices, and I'm kind of in a space where I'm really just channeling as much as possible my creative energy into my service, because I need as much energy as I can can get. But every season is different, you know? And I'm in a deep space of yearning right now for a counterpart, for a masculine counterpart, for a dance partner. And I am surrendered to that yearning. It's motivating me to dance with myself and to just come into deeper sacred union with the beloved within.
Mm. Thank
Gosh,
you. Thank you.
Makenzie. Gosh, you're so eloquent. Your authenticity is so pure. It's just, there's no filter. I mean, maybe there is, but you're just speaking like the purest from your heart. And it makes so much sense because the cacao is your mission, that you would have your heart so open and that you would be so pure with how you speak. And it's just beautiful listening to you, everything you're sharing. I think who the women that and men that we share this with, that hear this or that watch this on YouTube, are in for so much gold in what you just shared. Like, I love, 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 love your wisdom, and just that vulnerability of like, I am in yearning and I have these desires, but I am also like taking my time and being discerning. It's just like, oh, so beautiful.
Thank
And I
you.
think this is the path of the conscious woman,
Yes.
right?
And I'm so being called forward in that, because it's like if I have this high standard in my mind's eye about the caliber of king I'm calling in, then I honestly have work to do, because there have been times that I've allowed people into my field that they're beautiful people, but intuitively I knew that they weren't it. And I create more suffering for myself when I'm trying to make something work, or I'm trying to fit someone into a box. And so
Got it.
this is what I'm coming into forgiveness of myself for. Again, like, all great experiences, I'm glad I had them. And I'm also recognizing that, like, I'm in a deep preparation portal for sacred union and whatever that's going to bring. And so I get to raise my vibration. And so it's looking at every pattern around my eating, around my sexuality, around my boundaries, around my words, every single, I'm never going to be perfect. I'm human as fuck. But it's like, if I'm calling in a high caliber man, then how can I even up level myself?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
maybe at the end of the day, all I actually get is just deeper self-respect and deeper union with the divine. And that's the gift. Okay. So
I think there's more. There's more coming for you.
thank you.
I want to acknowledge I think how important it is to speak your yearning honestly and vulnerably, because there has been a part of me. I've been single for, almost 4 years from my divorce. And there have been moments, Makenzie, where the loneliness and sadness I have felt has felt like unbearable. And and then it's like, but there's some shame around that, because then I feel like, ew, like I shouldn't need or want that badly, right? But the truth is that as humans, we all deeply yearn to connect on a deep soul level and to have a partner and to have connection and to have deep soulful intimacy. And so there's nothing wrong with acknowledging and admitting that I deeply yearn for this. And I was listening to a podcast recently, and it touched me so deeply because it felt like somebody spoke the words that I had felt in my heart, but didn't really want to say out loud because it made me feel, icky. But she said that she wished that God would take away her desire for love because it just didn't ever seem to work out. And the hope that she had and the longing that she had for it was so painful that rather than hope for it, she just wanted the desire for it to be taken away. And when I heard that, I just was like, oh my God, I know that feeling. I that has been a prayer of mine. Please, God, if you don't have somebody for me yet, then please take this yearning away because it's brutal, right? And I will also say that I have continued to come back to how do I source from within? How do I source from within? How do I source from within? And I have moments where I'm like totally at peace with that and in total trust that it's all working perfectly, right? I have been doing a self-pleasure practice, a self-pleasure meditation practice that includes breath, includes meditation, includes self-touch. And I've been consistent for over 60 days, and it's become a ritual. It's become a sacred practice. It's become a way for me to care for and nurture the vessel that holds my soul so that when it's time, and I feel it's really happening closely right now, that I have done all this beautiful work to know my body, to know myself, to know my desires, to be able to speak them. So I think that I see you, I feel you, I hear you, I get where you are. And I just would offer, the hope that I have longed to get rid of at some point. That even if the perfect guy came along, like if I haven't learned how to really deeply, truly love myself, that I would somehow be wanting that to fill some holes. So I just am in the practice of filling all the holes and then welcoming in beautiful partnership.
Wow. So amazing. Thank you for sharing that. It's such an example for so many women to hear that. And I'm really receiving, hearing your journey and just the courage it takes to surrender to that loneliness. And for that 4 years, because the temptation to numb that out, to avoid it, to busy it away, it's it's like I just really commend your courage. It does take courage. And that's, I'm not even a year into my divorce yet, and I can see that, well, I'm not traveling the rest of the year, right? So I am grounded for these 8 months, and it's like, whoa. Now this next layer of healing is really coming to the surface, where of course I want to run away and like, can a man just rescue me from this?
Yeah.
No, nothing's going to rescue me from laying down on the floor and just feeling the loneliness. And I'm a yes to being courageous. And like, you're giving me so much inspiration in that right now. Cause I was just talking to my friend about this last night. And she was like, oh my gosh, one day you're going to laugh about this and you're going to look back and miss these times alone.
Right. Yeah.
Cherish it. And I'm like, you're right. So.
Yep. Yeah. It's all perfect.
Well, thank you, Makenzie, for gracing us again. We're so honored. Thank you, Amber, as always, for being so vulnerable and courageous and sharing so well and articulately, like your life and your path and your story and everything that you go through. I said this at the beginning, I'm so honored that we get to do this, that we have the freedom to do this. It's so important.
100%.
Thank
Love.
you,
Love you,
Makenzie.
Makenzie.
Love
So much.
you.
Love you guys so much. And I really hope we get to hang out in person because
Me
Oh,
too.
I adore both of you more than you know. Like I feel a resonance and just a full F yes. So come to Maui,
I would
play.
yes.
love to.
Yes.
I would love to.
Wonderful.
Dance parties, cacao
Dance
and
party, yes.
ceremony, dance party.
A 100%. I'm dead serious. So would love, love, love to do that.
All right.
Yes. 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 Yes.
And so
All
it
right.
is.
Sending so much love. Thank
You
you,
too.
beautiful goddesses. Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you. Okay.
Bye.
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 Love her. Love her.
I have a craving to read this because I wrote it this morning and I feel like it applies to what Makenzie was sharing. So sometimes the best experiences are the ones we show up to by ourselves and have with God and Spirit, angels, guides, your little girl, and your higher self, all coming together for highest and best good for you and for everyone. Knowing it's all going to be okay and then amazing. All the miracles and magic are here. All the blessings are here. A new day always dawns. A new river, I think of Mackenzie's waterfall image, always runs, flowing away all the old and flowing in new, fresh miracles. Earth is renewing, so are you, sweet one, part of the whole, and also whole unto one self.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yep.
This was so good.
Yeah, it was perfect. I'm glad that we got to have another conversation with her. It feels more complete now that we
Yeah.
got to discuss all that we did. And yeah, it's so healing when you hear other people speak their truth and when you speak your truth. And because, I've said this a million times and I'll say it again, the parts of us that we've tried to hide and pretend like we're okay, as soon as we speak it out loud, we realize we're so not alone. Every
Mhm.
single human has those moments of desperate loneliness, of
Yes.
longing, of yearning, of pain, of fear, of confusion, of uncertainty, of doubt, of, all of it. Like, and yet somehow we've been conditioned, I think, and I don't know why, to be in this energy of separation, afraid to share that, afraid that it will somehow make us um, unlovable. And so
Well,
we hide it.
yeah, I think it's from these painful experiences that we have.
Right.
It's like all the things we can think back and go like, "Oh, that's where I was just being my innocent, pure, normal, natural self." Whatever, quotes normal. And then I got hurt. I got made fun of. I got laughed at. I got judged. Or there's like the programming of all the conversations that people, well, I'll just be specific. Like, I think I've shared this. Like, my mom and I used to sit at the table after school and I would share some things, and she'd be like, well, that's because she's like this and she's like that, and she's judging you, and and she would psychoanalyze the whole thing. But it was like kind of like we were judging them back. And there's just all these coping mechanisms, right? Because it's painful to be vulnerable and human.
Mm-hmm. Two. Yes.
Angel, what's 222 mean?
Balance, harmony, relationships, union.
Ooh,
Yep. Soulmate, love.
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
We shall end on 222.
There we go.
All right. Thank you, Amber. Loving
Thank
you.
you. Thank
Love you
you.
guys for listening. Thanks for coming on this journey. We so appreciate you. And I would love, I think Amber would love, we would love to hear, like, what are your stories? What are you thinking about all this? What's going on for you? You feel free to reach out to us. Share with us how this is hitting you. We want to hear too. All right.
I love that. Yes, I would love to hear.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.